In this video, we will talk about the murder of Ashley Loring HeavyRunner, USA, 2017, so make sure to watch the full video. In June 2017, Ashley Loring HeavyRunner, a 20-year-old member of the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, disappeared without a trace. Her case became emblematic of the ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, MMIW, in the U.S., highlighting issues of jurisdictional challenges, lack of media coverage, and the broader systemic neglect of Indigenous communities. 1. Introduction to the case of Ashley Loring HeavyRunner. In June 2017, 20-year-old Ashley Loring HeavyRunner, a member of the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, went missing under mysterious circumstances. Her disappearance quickly became a symbol of a much larger and more troubling pattern of missing and murdered Indigenous women, MMIW. In the U.S., Ashley's case was one of many that highlighted the stark challenges faced by Indigenous communities when it comes to visibility, justice, and attention from both law enforcement and the media. The case not only raised awareness about the epidemic of MIO but also sparked conversations about the failures of the U.S. justice system when dealing with cases on tribal lands. 2. Background of Ashley Loring HeavyRunner. Ashley Loring HeavyRunner was born and raised on the Blackfeet Reservation, one of the largest Native American reservations in the U.S., located in northern Montana. She was known to her family and friends as a loving, intelligent, and motivated young woman. Ashley had a deep connection to her Blackfeet heritage, participating in cultural events and contributing to her community. At the time of her disappearance, she was enrolled in Blackfeet Community College and had aspirations to continue her studies and explore new opportunities. However, like many young people in her community, she also faced challenges, including personal struggles that may have played a role in the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. 3. The timeline of Ashley's disappearance. Ashley was last seen on June 5, 2017, on the Blackfeet Reservation. According to reports, she was spotted running away from a vehicle on Highway 89. This was the last confirmed sighting of her. Prior to this, Ashley had been in contact with her family, although details about her final movements remain unclear. In the days following her disappearance, there were conflicting reports of sightings, and some believe she may have been in the company of people involved in drug activity. Despite these potential leads, the timeline of her disappearance remains filled with gaps and unanswered questions, making it difficult for investigators to piece together her final whereabouts. 4. The search efforts and investigation. The initial search efforts for Ashley were led largely by her family and friends, who began scouring the vast and rugged terrain of the Blackfeet Reservation. In the early days, law enforcement was slow to respond, and the investigation lacked the urgency seen in other missing persons cases. Her family and volunteers conducted their own searches, often enduring dangerous conditions in their pursuit of finding her. The formal investigation by local authorities faced several obstacles, including limited resources and difficulties in coordination with tribal police. Over time, the search expanded, with the FBI becoming involved. However, despite these efforts, no concrete leads have surfaced, leaving her family frustrated and desperate for answers. 5. Challenges faced by law enforcement. Law enforcement faced significant hurdles in Ashley's case, many of which are common in cases of missing Indigenous women. One of the primary challenges was jurisdictional complexity. Cases that occur on tribal lands often involve a mix of local, tribal, and federal authorities, and this can lead to delays, miscommunication, and inefficiency. Additionally, tribal police often lack the necessary funding and resources to conduct thorough investigations, especially in rural and remote areas like the Blackfeet Reservation. Cultural and historical mistrust between Indigenous communities and law enforcement also contributed to the difficulties in cooperation, leading to further setbacks in the investigation. 6. The impact on the Blackfeet Nation. Ashley's disappearance had a profound effect on the Blackfeet Nation, sending ripples of fear and anger throughout the community. Her case became a rallying point for those who have long felt ignored and marginalized by the justice system. For the Blackfeet people, Ashley's disappearance was not just the loss of one of their own but a reminder of the systemic neglect Indigenous people face when they seek justice. Her case led to greater demands for accountability and safety, not just for the Blackfeet Nation but for Indigenous communities across the country. The emotional toll on the community was immense, as members faced the daily reminder of the dangers and injustices they continue to live with. 7. Media coverage and public awareness. Initially, Ashley's disappearance received little to no attention from national media outlets. This lack of coverage is part of a larger problem often referred to as the missing white woman syndrome, where cases involving white women are heavily covered by the media, while cases involving women of color, particularly Indigenous women, are overlooked. It wasn't until Ashley's family took to social media that her story began to gain traction. Local news stations began covering the case, and eventually, national attention grew as her family worked tirelessly to keep her name in the public consciousness. This section discusses how the biases in media coverage have long contributed to the neglect of missing Indigenous women and how advocates are working to change this. 8. The role of social media in the case. Social media played a crucial role in bringing Ashley's case to light. Her family, especially her sister Kimberly, used platforms like Facebook and Twitter to raise awareness and share updates. They organized search parties, shared her photos, and called for public assistance in finding her. These platforms allowed the family to bypass traditional media outlets and directly engage with the public, garnering support from across the country. The use of hashtags such as #FindAshley and #Mio helped her case reach a broader audience and highlighted the importance of social media as a tool for advocacy, particularly in cases that are otherwise overlooked by the mainstream media. 9. Ongoing efforts and updates on the investigation. Despite the years that have passed since Ashley disappeared, her family has continued to search for her and keep her story alive. Although no significant breakthroughs have been made, law enforcement has continued to investigate potential leads. The FBI's involvement brought new attention to the case, though it has not resulted in any major developments. As of now, Ashley's whereabouts remain unknown, but her family has not given up hope. Periodic updates from authorities and renewed search efforts keep the investigation active, though the trail has grown cold. This section examines the most recent updates and ongoing efforts to bring Ashley home and achieve justice for her family. 10. The broader issue of missing Indigenous women in the USA. Ashley Loring HeavyRunner's disappearance is part of a larger epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women in North America. Indigenous women are disproportionately affected by violence, with rates of missing and murdered women far higher than those of other racial groups. The reasons behind this crisis are complex and deeply rooted in systemic issues such as poverty, historical trauma, lack of law enforcement resources, and cultural marginalization. Recent legislative efforts, such as Savannah's Act and the Not Invisible Act, aim to address these problems by improving law enforcement coordination and resource allocation. However, advocates argue that more needs to be done to protect Indigenous women and prevent future tragedies. Ashley's case remains a critical example of the work still needed to combat this ongoing crisis. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go.